Hi there, good afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome you here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here to start this new series that I've been talking about. It's just a mini series. Basically, I decided I had a few mini series that I wanted to, but I've been putting them off because we've been doing the monthly series, and Ben has a mini series running for me on Tuesday, which has gone very well. I like doing that Tuesday episode every weekend. It's always an interesting topic, and so I've enjoyed doing that. But I've had a few of my own that I wanted to do. This is an opportunity because the monthly series we ran for the month of December only had 26 days worth of episodes in it. So I decided I would tack on this mini series at the end of that so that we get a little bit extra. So this mini series is basically my 6 favorite Genesis albums. Now, I've done a couple of series like this in the past, one for Black Sabbath and one for, I believe, the Beatles. I think those were the 2 I did. And so I've decided that the Genesis one I've wanted to do, so we're going to do that today. So I'm going to give you the album title, the band members that are in the band for the albums at the time when they came out. Try to give you the release date if I can remember it. In this case, I might not be able to. The best song or the best songs on the album, or the songs that had the biggest impact on the album, however you want to put it, and then the overall feel for the album, including its cover and the general feeling of the entire album. Because that's what the thing I like most about listening to the whole albums as opposed to listening to just songs. With songs, you might get a feeling about one song, that's it. With the album, you get a general overall feeling, because albums generally have a theme to them, or at least a feel to them. And then I'll give you my favorite track. So we're going to start off with the album that I had originally not planned to put in this series, but I was feeling guilty about it. I couldn't leave this album out. It's been one of my favorites by them for a long time. I'm going to put my glasses on now because I'm probably going to need them. So the album that we are... Sorry. Kind of crooked here. Anyways, the album, of course, is Wind and the Wuthering. This was released, I believe, it was released, I think, December 17th or 18th, 1976. One of 2 albums released in that year. Of course, the title, Wind and the Wuthering, which you can see if you look close enough in the corner up there. Genesis, Wind and the Wuthering. Kind of a dark-looking album. Kind of a barren, I guess, might be a better term to use. And it continues on the back. So what I'm going to do is open up so you can see. I'll take out the folder, and you can see this continues right across the back as well. Kind of a barren landscape, almost a gray winter landscape. I'm a big fan of trees and birds, and that may be part of the reason why I like this album so much, or at least the cover of it anyways. So this came out, like I said, back in '76. This won my favorite December release for albums released in December. It was my number 1 album. Yeah, it was a close fight, but I think it's still... is probably still my favorite of them. Of course, featured on the album are the 4 members that were part of the band during this period. Phil Collins, Steve Hackett, Mike Rutherford, and Tony Banks. So now I figured Tony Banks is probably the leader of the band at this point. This was the actual final album of Steve Hackett. I think Steve Hackett kind of got fed up with his ideas always being pushed down, his music being pushed in the background more, not being able to expand his guitar and not being the dominant force, which he should have been, which he is, and probably the best musician of the 4 on this band. And I say that with a lot of respect for both Phil Collins and Tony Banks as well, and even Mike Rutherford. But I think that Steve Hackett is the premier person. Not so much on the album though, because he, like I said, felt he was pushed down, and I don't think he was wrong in that assessment. The tracks on here, 9 of them in total. Most of the stuff on here is really good. The tracks that I think stand out, 11th Earl Lamar, which is the opening track. Lots of keyboards, pretty heavy for Genesis, and especially for this particular album. I think it's probably the heaviest song on the album. The drums are fantastic, of course. And then you got One for the Vine, which I think is one of Genesis' underrated song. Very kind of mystical and almost spiritual in nature, I guess. Maybe you might want to call that. Really great storyline along with it. My other one that I think most people are aware of on this album are Blood on the Rooftops. This was the last one by Steve Hackett. The guitar on it is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. It's one of their more well-known songs, especially on this particular album. So for me, those are the big tracks on the album as far as being known about and being like. Now you do have Your Own Special Way, which is kind of the beginning, kind of the pseudo beginning of their pop era. This is a little bit ballady like. Some people don't like it at all. I don't mind it. I think it's a good track. But they were moving in this direction with their music, and they had they had one song on the previous album that was kind of similar to that. But this one is the one that I think kind of starts it. Like, this is where you start seeing them moving in that direction. And my favorite track on the album is All in a Mouse's Night. I like the storyline. I like the fast pace. I like the little the way they put the music together. You can almost feel the mouse's attention, and then the bringing the cat on. And of course, Phil Collins' vocals are great on this album. I can't say enough about them. And there really is no bad tracks on there. Even What Gorilla, which is kind of it's an instrumental, but it's not a bad instrumental. I think it really fits in with the feel of the album. The album feels like a kind of, it's very progressive in its nature. Feels like a bit of a bits and pieces and stories, like fairy tale type thing. It has a very fairy tale feel to it, but a darker fairy tale feel to it. So the opening album for this series was not an album that was even going to be in the series, but since I decided to put it in the series, I decided I would give it the opening credits. So Wind and the Wuthering from Genesis, coming here at the first episode. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of my favorite 6 Genesis albums. The mini-series we're going to be running for the next 6 days. So today being the first one, and then the remaining 5 days of the month of January, we will have one episode on each of the remaining 5 albums. I think people will enjoy this. The reason I wanted to do Genesis is because I quite love all 6 of these albums. I'm very familiar with them now. It's a familiarity that comes with time. I mean, you can listen to something 50 times in a row and then feel like you really got the album and you really know it, but the feeling you can't force that feeling over a short period of time. It comes over years. So that's the feeling I have for these 6 albums, and Wind of the Wuthering had to be on this, even though I think the reason I took it out initially was because I had just done a series in which it had finished as the number 1 album. So I wasn't going to put it in for that reason. But, if you're going to do your favorite Genesis albums, then that means your favorite Genesis album should be on it, right? And this definitely qualifies as one of them. So hopefully you enjoyed this first episode. And if you have any comments, you can put them in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Those things are help the channel a lot, help me a lot, and notification bell above your head so you don't miss the remaining 5 episodes. Now, this episode, being the first one, will come out at 4 p.m. today because I already had a series running for this morning and put one out this morning. The remaining 5 episodes will come out at 8 a.m. I had originally thought I would keep them all at noon, but the problem was that they would have interfered with the episode of this week and my new album's purchased, which will come out on Friday. So I decided we'll do the one episode at 4 today, and then the rest will all come out at 8 a.m. So hopefully I will see you then. Take care and have yourself a good day, and goodbye.